3 nights after Daniel's mother died, the neighbor's German shepherd appeared in the yard. It sat perfectly still in the heavy rain, staring directly at the window with unnaturally bright white eyes. When it opened its mouth, it spoke with his mother's exact voice. The doctors called the cause of death heart failure, books, but the silence was absolute. Every room felt hollow without the sound of her voice to fill the space. The dog broke that silence by speaking to the one thing Daniel hadn't forgiven himself for. Using her tone and her cadence, it asked, "Why didn't you answer the hospital phone?" The next morning, Daniel's neighbor provided the physical reality of the situation. He showed Daniel a dusty, unused collar hanging in the garage. That dog had been dead for 2 weeks. Whatever was standing in the rain was something else entirely. The haunting moved from the yard to the hallways. Daniel lay paralyzed in bed as the sound of wet, deep breathing moved past his door. Then came the scratching. 3 slow, deliberate pulls of a claw against the wood. The voice outside changed tactics, shifting from accusation to a desperate plea. Mimicking his mother's most fragile state, the entity begged to be let in, whispering that it was cold outside. When the door remained locked, the entity abandoned the weight of a 4-legged animal. Daniel heard the heavy thud of something large moving into the attic, followed by the sound of claws dragging across the ceiling directly over his bed. Darkness poured from the attic hatch like a liquid. As the creature climbed down, its limbs bent backward at impossible angles. Beneath its fur, the shapes of human faces pushed outward against the skin, shifting like trapped air. Near the creature's neck, his mother's face finally emerged. Her mouth opened unnaturally wide, whispering a final indictment. "You didn't say goodbye." This creature was a collection of faces. Some were his mother, but others were complete strangers. It carried the likenesses of dozens of different people, each one appearing as a physical record of the grief it had encountered before reaching this house. Daniel retreated into his mother's bedroom, a space he hadn't entered since the funeral. The air was thick with a new, conflicting smell, the sharp sting of hospital disinfectant, mixed with the scent of rotting flowers and wet fur. A figure sat on the edge of the bed in her nightgown. It stayed perfectly motionless, its face hanging loosely over the skull beneath it, like wet fabric, the features sagging where the skin failed to grip the bone. As Daniel began to cry, the creature's smile widened, feeding on the visible display of his guilt. Its jaw split open vertically, revealing that the dog's glowing white eyes were actually deep inside the mother's throat. In his hand, Daniel's phone showed the full scale of what he had ignored: 36 missed calls from the hospital, all leading to a single saved voicemail he had been too afraid to play. He pressed play. His mother's real voice whispered through the static, a frantic warning from her hospital bed. "Daniel, don't let it learn me." Behind her voice, the recording captured the unmistakable sound of wet breathing and a dog barking in the distance. The message confirmed the creature's path. It was already in the room with her while she was dying, listening to her voice as the machines beeped. It didn't start in the house. It used her final moments to map her voice and follow the connection back to her son. The creature reacted violently to the sound of the recording. Its body twitched and buckled, shedding the mother's skin entirely as the power in the house failed, plunging the room into absolute darkness. What stood in the dark was an impossible construction, a massive shape formed from black fur, teeth, hospital tubing, and human faces stitched together beneath a single vibrating layer of skin. The house filled with an agonizing auditory overlap. Dozens of dogs began barking from inside the walls, while every version of his mother's voice, from her youth to her final illness, whispered together from the corners of the room. This entity sustains itself by remembering the sound of those who mourn. It waits in the silence of a grieving home, listening and learning how humans sound when they finally break, using those voices to construct its next disguise. The creature is a manifestation of the pain that follows a loss. It settles in the dark corners of the house, waiting for the sound of a voice it can copy, because grief is the only thing that teaches it how to speak.